Hi, I am John D'Arienzo, CEO of doForms. In today's video, we'll be hearing from 3 of doForms' customers. I've personally had the opportunity to work with each of them, and I've asked them to share their experiences and success stories using the doForms platform. With us today are Dr. Robert Rosati from the Visiting Nurse Association of New Jersey, Elizabeth Dahman from Clancy Relocation and Logistics, and Jeff Henry from Mead. Let's start off with Dr. Rosati.
So I can just a little bit of background on myself and the organization that kind of put into context what we're doing with doForms. So VNA Health Group, which is based in New Jersey for the most part, is home health and hospice. We also have a visiting physician practice where we go see the patient in the home instead of them going to see the doctor. The other piece of what we do is run community health centers throughout New Jersey. We also have home care hospice in Ohio, and we have a home health agency in Florida. So, we're spread out in a number of different places. And what we've been doing over the past several years is looking to see, is there technology out there that we can implement that improves the way we deliver care, also makes the work easier for our staff. And John and I we met in kind of a different way, in a sense of, I was looking for a solution to do mobile printing. And I had been talking to Brother, and they said, you should meet John and understand what doForms can do, because I think it can solve a problem. And when I started to really figure out what doForms could do, it was much more about the capability to do some mobile printing. It was really a tool that we could use to capture data. We've also designed a scheduling tool for our clinicians in the field. And then it became something extremely valuable when we got hit with COVID. And I can go into a lot of detail there, but in a year ago, we were put in the position of figuring out, how do we screen over 1,500 employees a day to determine who could go out and do a visit in a patient's home. And I basically picked up the phone and called John, and I said, we've done a lot with this application. What could we do more? Lauren stepped in, and we were able to design something we still use today that I don't know if any other vendor could have been available and been so quick and helped us in a way to get us off the ground. So, we do work with a lot of large vendors who, for example, provide our medical record system. But the challenge is that when we ask for features that they don't see as necessarily priorities, it's much harder to get them to integrate that kind of functionality. So the example about the printing for us was, we have to give patients consent forms. We often get them to sign on a tablet, but there's no easy way then for us to get that consent back to them without our nurse going to the office and picking it up and going back out to the patient. So, the capability that we had in doForms was, we can create that same consent form. We could print it in the home, and we could also email it to family members right from the application. And we had been asking for this functionality from the EMR company for years and still have not gotten it. And I think this is where the flexibility of what doForms allows us to do is incredible. And I also would point out that what we're doing in doForms does not exist in isolation either. John's team has been able to work with the EMR vendor and actually get data from them in a secure way, so that some of our forms can actually be pre-populated with information on the patient that's coming from that electronic medical record. So again, this is another flexibility that he was able to offer us that I think is just amazing. I want to also point out that a lot of times too, when we looked at products to do some of what we do in doForms, there's a rigidity in terms of how that vendor wants to sell you that product and what they want to build for you. So we have looked at things sometimes and said, oh, great, it's got 80% of what we need. But then when you start asking for that additional 20%, the costs escalate. They start saying, okay, well, these are all going to be modifications of the system and so on. It's not like that in doForms because it is pretty much a blank slate for us to do what we need.
Now let's hear from Elizabeth Domin.
We've been using doForms now at Clancy for a few years. It started off as we had a need for a really straightforward solution. We had a lot of drivers. We were growing one of our portable storage companies, Go Minis, because we cover all throughout New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So we have a lot of mobile technicians, mobile people. And we were currently getting physical paperwork back to a warehouse and then having someone drive the paperwork somewhere else, where then they could collect it and organize it. And it was a very slow, cumbersome process. And with our growth plan, we needed something that we could do and scale. So it started off as one division of our company using doForms. And then everyone was like, wow, that's really cool. I saw how you were able to answer a customer's question really quickly because you just went to the paperwork and it was all indexable. It was searchable because it was in data. It was in a digital format. And we were able to resolve a customer's issue and concern within 15 minutes, where normally it would take us days. So right there, that kind of won some people over. And they said, well, can we do it for our commercial divisions? So we started exploring and doing more and more with it. And that's basically been the theme, is getting more done with doForms, improving our ability to do data collection, reduce the errors that we're doing, and also meet our customers' changing demands, because our customers like to say that they're a VIP. They want the VIP treatment. They want specific reporting done for them. They want specific things done on their forms. And we can do that with doForms. So far, I haven't run into anything where someone said, oh, I want this. We can do it. Okay. I started with the templates, which were great because they gave me a lot of ideas for how everything would work together. And then I started off with an existing paper form, and I had to make the form in doForms as much like the paper form as possible so that it would help our users adapt to the new technology. Because we had people that they called in our office like the test patients, the people that were going to have a really hard time with anything technology. Like they were still learning phones. So we rolled it out to them and they were like, oh, well, it looks just like my form. And I'm like, yes, it is. You just put it in there instead of on the paper. And they're like, oh, I know how that works. So they felt really good and comfortable using it, which was a win. We would send the truck out, he would make several stops, log it in the doForm, and then as soon as he hit submit, it would come back to the office, we'd have a record, and then all of that would roll up into a monthly report for billing. It saved hours and hours for the billing department. And then I just kept going with more templates to get started. So yes, I make the forms here, but I'm also basing it on what our existing forms look like and making them look as much like it as possible. And then once everyone got comfortable with it, they were able to let go of the idea of how to look like paper. At that point, they were like, well, we love this because we can have conditional logic that allows us to send out an entire basically stack of forms to the drivers with the drivers on their routes, but it's conditional. So if they choose an option, then they see an additional section to take a photo of the proof of delivery or a photo of the damages. And it's intuitive enough for them to go, okay, I just take a photo, point at it. And then we have an image, again, the paperwork coming back to us immediately, showing us what's going on. We're able to do something about it much faster and ultimately make the customers happier, which is what we're all, trying to do. So that really also shone a light on the fact that we want to do more with doForms.
Finally, we will hear from Jeff Henry.
Here at Mead, we are a construction company. And we do 2,000 plus jobs a year. And so our challenge here in IT is how to develop forms that can be used on different types of jobs. So instead of having one form for every job, if you will, that would be 2,000 to 3,000 forms a year. What we've done is we've been able to create a form that's very flexible, that through the lookup data feature, that is able to basically make the form dynamic. So for example, we have forms that will collect information for labor, material equipment, unit type jobs, delays, impacts. And we have created a form that, based on how you set that form up through a simple Excel file, the form will actually turn on and off sections of that form to allow the PMs and our managers to create the form, if you will, custom for every single job. But instead of creating that form every time, we've actually programmatically created the form to be dynamic through just changing simple Excel files and uploading them. So John's been a great help with getting some features in place that allows us to use the forms consistently, but reuse the same form over and over for many different types of jobs. There's really nothing that I can say that we've not been able to do with a doForm. Not only do we have our standard forms we use throughout the organization, but we can take a customer's form and their needs or requirements, and we can make that a doForm and provide the customer with that information that they want in a very quick, timely process. The other thing that's great about doForms is if we were to go out and write mobile apps to make this all work, we'd have to worry about Android updates, Apple updates, all sorts of tablet OS type updates that we don't have to really worry about with doForms. doForms makes sure that that application is compatible against many operating systems, many phones, many tablets, many types of Android systems. And, it just takes all of that out of the game. So we concentrate on the requirements that we need and delivering a product that works and consistently making that form reusable, which is huge for us here at Mead. We've got $2,000-3,000 jobs a year, and we are able to isolate those jobs down to 5 forms that are dynamically set up based on how you configure the form. We collect data in the field, and when it's submitted, it comes in-house, and we review it, and then we actually transfer the form. We forward the form to our customer somewhere in the Chicagoland area or another state, and that customer then receives the form. They can review it, and then they can sign off on it, approve it, and submit it. We can do all that within minutes. Whereas, of course, in the old days, where you had paper, you had to shuffle it from the field, get it in-house, you had to meet the inspector in the field, you had to do whatever to get it signed off on. And today we can do that at just clicking buttons on a computer. And they can sign off on the form on a tablet. They can sign off on the website. They can sign it. So it's very, very flexible. With the output, we also have some forms that we have actually two different outputs for the same form. So one output will go to payroll. That's how we get our guys paid. The other output goes to billing. The other output goes to a customer. So we have forms that actually, when they are submitted, we send out 3 different types of output based on what the customer demand is, whatever that user wants. I've looked all over, and there's without a doubt, doForms offers you the most flexibility for their product than any other product out there.
I'd like to thank our guests today for taking time out of their busy schedule. If you'd like to share your experience with doForms, please give us a call. Customer input and involvement has made doForms the product it is today. If you're not already a customer, sign up today for a free trial and free form build. Simply call 855-doForms or email us at sales@doforms.com. Thank you, and check back again soon for more great content from doForms.